to April, which is the month where we'll be talking about the Supreme Court, the last branch of the government that we're going to dive into. And to kind of kick things off, we are going to take a look at one of the current healthcare issues that is actually being debated in the Supreme Court right now. And so to start things off, we are going to do a little bit of a warm-up activity. And so I have two statements on either side of the board. They are opposing arguments, opposing viewpoints and statements. And so this side says, to increase safety and reduce the cost to taxpayers of supporting fire departments, laws should exist mandating that all homeowners own working smoke detectors. So this side is saying that laws should be placed to enforce homeowners that they have to have a working smoke detector in the case of a fire or emergency. Okay, let's look at this side. It says it is an imposition on individual freedom, so we're talking about our individual rights, for the government to require citizens to purchase a product including smoke detectors. Individuals should have the freedom to make their own choices. So let that sink in, digest. And what I want you guys to do in the next 10 seconds is to stand up, and I have a taped line here, and I want you to stand on the line according to where your viewpoint lies between these two statements. If you are totally, it's up to the individual, it's our rights, we shouldn't be forced whether or not we have to own a smoke detector, stand against that side. If you think that it's promoting safety and safe living for the common good of the people and that it should be mandated by the government, stand over here. If you kind of see both viewpoints, find a spot on the line where you feel that your position lies best. Okay? Go. Everyone find their places on the line or huddled in a group? Dolphins going over to this side?
Yeah? Why?
Okay, this is good. So we're like about 50-50 almost. So can I get a few volunteers to kind of state why did you decide to be on this side?
There's no way to enforce that in every single individual home. It would be a waste of money, more so than sending out more fire teams to go to every single home, make sure that they're working all the time. There's no way to enforce that.
So enforcement would be a big factor, big cost that we may eventually have to pay for that agency or law enforcement to go and make sure that every single home has a working detector.
On top of that, who is the government to say you have to buy this specific product?
Okay, so too much influence by the government to enforce us to make that decision when maybe we wouldn't want to.
But I do think that public institutions should have to have it, because that's where people are, they don't know, they're going into a place like a school should have fire alarms.
Okay. So excluding public areas, hospitals, anywhere where multiple people are going to be that's not your own individual property or home should be required to have a working smoke detector. So someone from over here, why do you feel that the government should enforce homeowners to have working smoke detectors? Jake?
Like, what if a fire does happen? Like, a lot of us live in these small, close together suburban homes. What if that gets out of hand and another person's property is damaged because you didn't have a smoke detector and you didn't know what was going on?
Right, and it didn't trigger the fire department to come in time to put out the fire that now your neighbor has to, take the cost of. So, any other viewpoints on either side? Yes.
Well, I think that if you're going to do it, kind of like Jake said, we're all, most people, at least in this area, live pretty close together. We're a pretty developed area, and we're pretty close together. So if, say, my house caught fire, then my neighbors are likely, their house is more likely to catch fire. But on top of that, you're also making the decision for everyone living in your house. So let's say that you don't have the money to pay for it. There's always welfare, and there's always financial assistance. That's always been available. like, you're making the decision not only for you, but for everyone living in your house, and you're making the decision for everyone living, you know, in the houses next to you, and just, I think that it's...
So, and especially if you are a parent that has kids, it's your job as a parent to protect your children's safety.
I mean, if you're just rushing your kid, like a 2-year-old, out of the house in the middle of the night because you hear a fire alarm, or because, you know, there's smoke in your bathroom, they're gonna throw a fit. If there's the loud flashing noises, they might cry a little bit, but they'll understand that there's an emergency and you have to get out. That it doesn't matter if your blankie is sitting in the bathtub, you need to get out.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think the debate is on choice, not on the fact that they save lives, because they obviously do. But they don't cost much. They're like, what, $5? They're really cheap. And my dad is an architect, and there are certain household codes that buildings have to have in order for them to be safe. And just adding like a smoke detector onto that list would be no problem. And if the issue is the money, well, then the government can just have a little tax rebate, $5, whatever it is, and then every home can have that code and have a new smoke detector and everything's safe.
So it may cost
Seems a
every
big deal.
person a little bit more, but it's not substantial enough to the overall effect of if lives were lost or homes were damaged. Maddie?
Like, would you rather pay the, I don't know, $10 for a couple of smoke detectors in your house, or the hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage if your house caught fire, you'd have to replace all your stuff, you'd have to replace your house, and if your fire gets out of hand and catches your neighbor's house on fire, you're going to have to take care of that too. So would you rather spend, I don't know, 10, 15 bucks on a couple smoke detectors, or hundreds of thousands of dollars fixing everything?
Right. Any other arguments from this side of individual freedom? Gavin?
Okay. I would be in favor of a law passing that states that from this date and time forward, new constructed houses have to have a smoke detector in it. But that would be, in effect, it's saying the houses that came before that wouldn't have to, because, again, it's choice, and the government can't say that you need this product.
So it would just be impacted from here on out,
Yeah.
basically. And that's fair. Yeah.
I agree with Gavin about what Maddie said. Yes, the parents should be taking care of this. It is the parents' responsibility to get the kids out. It's the parents' responsibility to buy a smoke detector and look after their children. It is not the government's responsibility to be our parent. It is the government, the parents of the parents.
So there you go. So some people say that the government should act as kind of like a parent, and all the citizens are the children. And then there's argues that nope, parents parent, we have enough parents, the government shouldn't be that involved over the say of our decisions that we make for our lives. So with hearing both standpoints, would any of you change your position on the line of where you're standing right now? And if so, move. I just want to see if anyone has been persuaded whether or not their view changes a little bit. No? Everyone stands by what they think? Yeah. All right, let's all sit down. We're gonna look at a couple other questions. So taking both sides of the spectrum into consideration, I have 5 different groups of people here on the board. Firefighters, homeowners, law agencies, citizens, and the government. How if this became a law, everyone should own smoke detectors to prevent safety for neighbors and their children and whatnot, how would it impact firefighters? If at all. Maddie?
Okay, well, for one, the smoke detectors are mainly there to tell people to get out. There's a fire. If it's little, take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you have the things you need, it might just be smoke and you need to turn your oven down, but it might be an actual fire. Smoke detectors are there basically as warning. They're saying, get out. There's a fire. You can call 911. It's not really. It's saving the firefighters the job of determining if there is a fire, and it's sending them a direct link so that there's a fire here. If there's no one at home and there's a fire that sparked up at a house, the smoke detectors are technically wired to pick up the smoke and tell someone if they're like the newer stuff.
So is it going to affect?
It's not going to affect firefighters because they're still going to have to fight the fires.
They're still gonna have to
It's
fight
just going to mean that the paramedics have less work, which is
Potentially,
better
yes.
because everyone wants the paramedics to have less work because that means more people are